Hello, Cubers, and welcome back to the Cars of Carlisle Network, your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren, and right next to me is...
Navigator Scott.
Oh, wow. New title.
It is. It changes every week.
You kind of earned that after 1,800 miles of my driving.
So. I like to think of that as a promotion. Right.
Yes, the Corvette has not yet been washed and waxed and decaled and everything else.
It will need it.
Yeah,
badly.
it will. It certainly will. But we are back.
It had a lot of miles of hard road.
So we are back from Rally North America 2019, the New England edition. And how about it, Scott? 1,800 miles, 8 states, 5 days.
And a lot of hectic, frenetic scheduling, planning, getting to checkpoints, all that kind of thing. Yeah, it was great.
It really... A big thank you to Tony Antreri and Scott Spielman as far as the co-founders of Rally North America. They started this in 2009. This was our first year, but coming into it, it was so much fun. And we met great people, 84 other teams from all across the country.
A lot of good things that we didn't anticipate and just, happened upon. All the people that we met, the places that we were, all of the towns that we were in, everyone was just great.
The local people were the best.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
You'll hear from the checkpoints, and if you check out some of our photos, some of the best times were tracking down some of the people that we had to do for some of the special extra credit points, extra... some of the special extra credit points that we needed to get.
You sound kind of special with the extra... But with that, it was a lot of planning went into it by Tony and Scott. And Scott can tell you, that's Navigator Scott can tell you. That
See, it's good I have my title. Less confusion.
That each morning we'd come down to the hotel, and then there'd be other teams there at the breakfast and everything. But often there was confusion of just how to get to the starting line. Starting line may be as close as a couple blocks downtown.
Or a few miles. It was never at the place that we were staying.
And that day 4, was it? We were driving through that one college campus. We were trying to find
it was a mess.
The starting line.
We were a mess, actually.
Well, yeah.
But it was good. That was, what luck do you have in finding your checkpoints if you can't even find where you need to start? But we made it.
It was pretty neat, though. They had... usually the mayor of whatever town we were in, Ithaca, Poughkeepsie, Erie, they would do a welcome and a speech, and then the local news channels were there, and they made
Mav TV was filming the entire thing, which I think that's going to come out. We don't know specifically.
I think it's fourth quarter.
End of December, January.
Date, yeah, but as we know more, we'll share that with you Cubers. But pretty cool. I think they're going to do 6 episodes, all based on
this rally,
the rally itself, and yours. We didn't have a lot of airtime, but there was one on that haunted road that they had some cameras on us.
On Clinton Road. The most supernatural road in New Jersey, at least, anyway.
Yeah, that was great. That was a little hair-raising.
We'll get to what the checkpoints were on that one in a little while.
Let's jump into that. In fact, day 1 was pretty cool. We got up there Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. To Erie, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Scott. And they had a driver's meeting. Navigators were included.
Right. In fact, navigators had to write stuff down.
Yeah, they told navigators to get a notebook and pen because you guys had homework.
And who had one with them? Me.
Prepared.
Yep.
Mr. Boy Scout.
Right there.
Yep. So with that, they told us a little bit about the next morning and the start and what have you. And day 1 was pretty action-packed. We started that off with, as you pull up to the starting line, they would send you out 2 by 2 by 2. And Tony would lean into the navigator side of the car and hand us this. We can put some photos on Instagram, but it was...
Let me back up 1 minute. So there were, I think we've mentioned this in other ones as well, but there were 85 teams. So 2 by 2 or 4 by 4 the whole way down through however many city blocks it would take.
So they would hand us the turn sheet, essentially. This is kind of so day 1 was July 8th, and that was from Erie, Pennsylvania to Ithaca, New York. And with that, they have checkpoints. Each are worth, in this case, 300 points. You needed to figure out sometimes a riddle, just a picture, maybe a clue. And it's almost like, think of it like a bit of an amazing race in a car. Right. You have to figure things out, use your mind, and decipher, determine, discern, and off you go.
And each checkpoint, you mostly had to get your team and or car in the photo with it.
The back of the car,
yeah, as proof.
Yeah, the very first checkpoint on day 1, we won't go through every single checkpoint and hit you with that, but we went to the town of Corry, Pennsylvania. It once was a boom town thanks to some nearby oil fields in Titusville and the railroad that was going through there. And the first checkpoint was to have your photo taken with the car in the foreground of this beautiful mural that's painted on the side of a downtown building of a locomotive. So we did that, and in fact the photo turned out so great we've been probably going to use it in some of our promotions.
Yeah, it's great.
Turned out really well. So then as we continue on, we had to get to Salamanca, New York, and there was the Allegheny Reservation of the Seneca Nation of New York. And basically with that, there were 600 Seneca tribe members, and the reservation was on 10,000 acres. It's 1/3 of its territory, much of it's in fertile farmland, and it contains one of the largest dams east.
What's your language?
Hey.
Sorry.
East of the Mississippi River. So to clear that checkpoint, we had to have Scott and myself. We had to be in basically a selfie of ourselves. Does that sound right? Selfie of ourselves.
Selfie of ourselves. It's better than a themsy. That's when somebody else takes a picture.
So
which doesn't work well with people with short arms.
No, you learned that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. My face looks like it takes 3/4 of the pictures, and yours looks like a little miniature person in the background.
Oh my gosh! Well, we did have a selfie stick which we'd extend and use to take photos, and we did use it in fact for the photo of the dam in the background. So that was pretty cool. Went on. Remember the next one, Scott? The museum. You had never really known anything about it.
Oh yeah,
the Zippo Museum.
The Zippo Museum.
Yes.
The Zippo lighter.
Yeah. So what we had to do is we had to have a picture taken of
with the first Zippo lighter.
Yes. So the first Zippo lighter was produced in 1933, and they had the patent May 17th of 1934. But we had to place our team in front of the patent and the first Zippo in order to move forward. So that was pretty cool. Then we continued on to, I had been there before, and you had not, but pretty cool as far as the considered to be the eighth wonder of the world. It was a bridge built in 1882. It's the Kinswa Bridge, and this thing is incredible. Restoration began on this bridge that was built in 1882 because it was becoming very dilapidated in 2002. However, before they could complete the restoration work, a tornado came through and ripped it up. And what's fascinating is all of the debris, all the twisted steel and metal, is all in the valley floor.
But I actually took a picture of it because it's rusted metal, but it looks very artistic from up above.
Well, it looks organic.
Yeah, it does. With all, and especially as green as everything was, it was just a really cool look.
Well, I think it's something like 301 feet, 2250 or 2300 feet long. What's really kind of fascinating is you can go out to the end of where the bridge still stands, and they have a plexiglass floor. You can stand there and look 300 feet down to the valley floor, and that's a lot of fun. So we enjoyed that.
That was really neat.
Now the next, and it had icicles that form only during the spring and summer, and
not in the fall and winter.
Right. So we did that, and oh my gosh!
While we were in there, I got really hungry though because it was warm outside and it looked like a big snow cone, and I was kind of thinking maybe I could get a little refreshment from there, but that was a pretty cool stop as well.
Yeah, one of the next checkpoint, which I found fascinating, is the grave of Samuel Clemens. So for me to be able to see
Mark
Twain's resting place, that was cool. So we had our picture taken there as well, and of course you had to be respectful being in front of the gravesite itself. But to think that he was born in the Northeast, I wouldn't have thought that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with everything from the Mississippi and riverboats and what have you. So that was day one. Scott, do you want to kind of give the overview of day two?
Okay, so the overview of day two, but also overview from Navigator perspective is, you're handed this sheet of your checkpoints, and you're told whether to go left, right, or straight. Cars are going different directions, but you're all kind of starting towards... I know, left, right, center? Yeah. Left, right, crazy is what it should have been.
Sure.
So you're immediately trying to figure out the clue for the first point so you can at least start going in the right direction. And so you get that first checkpoint, and then you start with the other clues on your way. And I think it was the first day, or maybe it was the second, I can't remember which one. Our first checkpoint, when I looked at it, it was about an hour and a half away, and I'm thinking, that can't be right. Mm-hmm. So you take off, not seeing any other rally cars, and you're thinking for a good hour and 15 minutes you're on the wrong track.
Yeah.
And you get close to it, and then you start seeing other rally cars, so you have a little bit of a relief that you've made the right choice and decision with it. But
can I rewind before we leave day one? This has been bad on me, but remember what we got to visit and do some hot laps.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was Watkins Glen Day. They had rented the track. I believe it was for nearly 2 hours.
It was a couple of hours,
and they sent 40 cars out, and then the balance of the cars out.
And
you would do 4 hot laps paced.
they were hot.
They were fast.
Yeah, paced. They were fast. They were triple digits.
We were hitting. Yeah, you're right. We were hitting over 100, and then you come back in, let your tires and engine cool down. The second group goes out, and then they went out for a second and 4. So that was a lot of fun. We did take video of it, but there were a couple times you come around those chicanes and the boot and bus stop, and it was a blast.
It was extreme. Yeah, it really was. Because you know, probably from listening to the other episode from months ago.
Yeah, April.
We had gone up and did the opening weekend for Watkins Glen, and that was a pace car, but I think it was like half of what we were going speed wise this time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of neat.
It was also, we were in half the car.
Right. Okay. So it worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out. But no, that was a great experience that they had planned in there for it too. So that was wonderful. And one other thing before we go on to day 2 as well, in addition to your checkpoints and trying to figure them out and driving and getting there, each day you would have a separate sheet of extra credit points that you could get along the way.
Good point, yeah.
And they were different for each day, and there were usually, I don't know, 30 or 40 different ways you could do it, and each way you could have 3 sightings, and it could be anything from somebody washing a vehicle, or somebody bicycling, or pictures of cars before 1980, or white barns or red barns or covered bridges. It could be virtually anything. So just when you get in a groove, you're thinking, there was that. So you had to go back and kind of get pictures and figure out if it was worth trying to look for those things as well. So it was constant. It was, but it was exhausting mentally to try to just keep focusing on that throughout the day in addition to your driving.
It's a really good point, and you have to make fast decisions. In talking to Tony one evening, he said it very well. It forces you can't do it all. You could probably hit all the checkpoints, but you're not going to probably get all of the extra credit, what have you. And you really have to prioritize. You have to decide what's important and what you want to see, what you need to see, if you're going to try and podium with getting enough points and what have you. So it can be very competitive.
And our learning curve was good because each day we exponentially got better with trying to,
I would say that's
add
fair.
It all in. Yeah. But it was important to us each day to at least hit our checkpoints and get to the final destination in the time period allotted. So it was,
right,
and we did.
Because the organizers of Rally North America put a lot of time and effort into showing you, some great places that you may not otherwise visit. It kind of takes you out of the touristy way and to see some, you're definitely on back roads, you're on great twisty farm roads, forestry roads. You're not on major highways any longer than you need to be. So that's pretty fun.
It was fun and beautiful. The weather, I think everybody, if you're listening from Carlisle area, we would call back home and it was just rain and dismal and humid. We had great weather. It was sunny and breezy, but hot, but breezy. It was nice. It was very comfortable and everything was great. Yeah. Yeah. So day 2.
Take it away.
The actual checkpoints for there were, and I need to just back up and say something a little personal
We're putting this thing in reverse a lot.
Put it in reverse. And this is, I'm going to kind of share and be a little vulnerable. I don't care for, and I don't know very much about history. So a lot of these things kind of forced me into it. And then it became interesting because you were putting actual places with the history. It wasn't just reading something about it. So day 2, we the clues were starting off with the one was a Minnesink Battle Monument. That we had to get to first. So we were there, and then we moved on to the D&H Canal, which was the aqueducts. And this all took you down along the Delaware River and Route 97, which the further down that we went, the better it was as far as views, and I'm sure better it was as far as driving for you, because it kept getting windier and more vistas and views to see. Checkpoint 3 on that was an area of 97 where you had to find a Hawk's Nest sign, and it's a winding section of road along there, and it was just beautiful.
That was almost all the a lot of the cars wouldn't fit in the pull-offs. The people would drive eighth, quarter, half mile up, then walk back to
come back to get your picture with the Hawk's Nest sign. Yeah,
and we had to make decisions on the fly. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? How many points? Let's keep going. So you have to really be thinking.
And it was funny when I was researching it before getting there. It was saying about that section of road people love to drive, and that the cops sit there on purpose because the speed limit is low and people love to do it. And when we were going through, we actually passed 2 cops with people stopped. Not from the rally. It was actually other just drivers.
Right.
But it wasn't from ours. But it was kind of interesting that kind of reinforced what we had read there. Then the next 3 checkpoints, 4, 5, and 6, were interesting to me, not so interesting to Darren, but they were all on Clinton Road.
Oh yeah,
in New Jersey.
It creeped me out. He was all about it.
And as I mentioned before, it is deemed as the most supernatural section of road. And so the first checkpoint in there was just the beginning of Clinton Road. It was where it started. The next checkpoint was called Ghost Boy Bridge. And as lore has it, there was a young boy who was hit by a car and thrown into the water and drowned. And it says that if you throw a quarter into the water, the quarter will either flip back to you, or some people actually have been pushed into the water because the boy's trying to save the people from being hit by a car like he was. And the other checkpoint on there was a Druidic temple, which was, no idea how it was made or how it became to be. And it was pretty cool as well. And the odd challenge on that was the Druid was apparently in 1988 there was a girl that crashed her Camaro into it. So the extra credit for that one was a 200-point bonus if you got a video of a non-rally Camaro driven by a female on Clinton Road, which I would like to see if anybody had that extra 200-point bonus, because I'm not sure how that could be.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of extra cars other than rally cars.
Right. Checkpoint 7 on that was off of Breakneck Ridge. You had to take a picture of your car and team in it with Bannerman's Castle in the background, which was a castle out on an island that you had to get in the background of your photo. The finish line for this. So each day, the actual end point by a certain time was a finish line. And the first day, as Darren said, it was Watkins Glen. The last day, which you'll hear about also, it was at Camp Sunshine, which was just spectacular.
Yeah.
What a great time there. But the second day, the one that I'm giving here, ended at Dyson Racing, which was so interesting. It was so cool. So when we showed up there, there was a reception and everyone was there. There was wine and cider tasting. You got a tour. Well, not even a tour. You had just free reign to go through the facility, check everything out. We could take photos. Got introduced to and talked with Rob Dyson. And there was an amazing food truck called Farmers and Chefs, and it's Hudson Valley Food Trucks.
Big thank you to those guys.
Wonderful. They had everything that they just offered up for free. It was everything. It was like beef brisket tacos with fresh slaw. They would do fries. It was just wonderful. It was great. And of course, as the days went, there wasn't a whole lot of time for stopping for anything, so we were all interested in snarfing something down at that point. So a great...
That's a racing term, I think, isn't it?
Snarfing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Snarf. But a great shout out to Farmers and Chefs Hudson Valley. They were wonderful. So that kind of finalized day 2 for us.
Okay.
And day 3 was...
That was Poughkeepsie, New York to Concord, New Hampshire.
Right.
And in that, we had some choices. Like checkpoint 1, you had to hit 2 of 3 architectural areas or points of interest from a building standpoint. One of the choices you had was the Vanderbilt Mansion. That's in Hyde Park. Also in Hyde Park were 2 other buildings, very famous buildings that were on the same campus, if you will. And those are the 2 that Scott and I picked. First was the FDR, so the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Presidential Library, and then Frank Delano Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt's home, the Springwood Estate, which we were able to walk around and see both.
Yeah, and go inside the home, which was just beautiful.
Well, I love the fact we got to see FDR's car, how it had been retrofitted so he could drive it by hand.
And that was in the library museum.
That was the basement of the museum, yeah. And really, for the time in the 40s, to have a vehicle that was you could drive through hand controls was pretty exceptional. That was, of course, before ADA and some of the other things that have made it a little more accessible. So that was fascinating to me.
And again, threw me into some history, which was really interesting, actually.
The Springwood Estate I found really cool, how you went into the left wing and there were stairs down into FDR's office. They explained that with polio, of course, he had to use a wheelchair throughout the home. If someone, a dignitary or royalty or cabinet members or a senator or whomever would come to visit, they would have a ramp so he could go down a couple stairs into his office area. Well, they would remove the ramp, they would remove the wheelchair, And they even explained to the tour group that they went so far as to put dirt, dust, scuff marks onto FDR's shoes so that it looked as if the president had been up and about and ambulatory and moving around and maybe perhaps walking through the grounds and through the trails. But it was all essentially a facade, and he wasn't able to use his legs. They explained how the lecterns and whatever or wherever he would speak, that the podiums were mounted into the ground so that he could hold himself up by his upper body. He was very, very strong to almost stay in a perpetual arm dip, and his legs, even being braced, were of very little use. So they explained all these things, and they really made it personal.
I found it interesting that they were talking about his dog, Follow, that followed him everywhere.
Yes, the Scottish Terrier named Fala, F-A-L-A.
Yeah, but the Secret Service said that so every time they would travel by train, and every time they would get off of the train, when they would have stops, Fala had to go to the bathroom, and the Secret Service was like, yes, they called Fala the informer because every time they got the dog off of the train, people would kind of know who was in the train. So it was kind of cool.
She was kind of the dead giveaway. President's on board that train.
And I also found it interesting that Franklin and his wife are the only two Roosevelts buried on the premises there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the Eleanor, and they're right within proximity of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So it was interesting. Yeah. I was thrown into history. It was good.
Well, and he was a 4-term president, which, as our guide explained,
can't happen anymore.
Can't happen anymore. And he also was...
Quite honestly, probably wouldn't ever happen anyway.
Right. But he was he had the foresight that he started to create the presidential library while he was still a sitting president. He did a lot of things. We went through, of course, the museum and saw all the policies and acts and the federal FDIC and everything that...
Social Security.
Yeah, everything that based on his administration. I was so impressed with his first 90 days, how they listed out all the things he had accomplished. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what side of the aisle you are, he was probably one of our greatest presidents. And they call him the war president, and the fact, obviously, that along with Churchill, and he really, I mean, we stood together as allies throughout World War II. So
okay, I'm ringing the buzzer. Too much history. Move on. Back to cars. Okay.
Yeah, you've had your fill. Okay, so that was kind of the choice and the first checkpoint. Second checkpoint, remember, Scott, was the distillery.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the Rensselaer House and Mill Complex. We had to stop there. You got 100 points if you had a picture. Well, first of all, you had 100 points if you brought a bottle back to the race organizers. You had to have a selfie of yourself in the tasting room, which we did do that.
So cool. What a great little spot. And even outside, all of the waterfalls and everything that run past it was just great.
Yeah. Yep. Third checkpoint was, and we had the option. This is, again, where you have to make a decision. You do a quick Google search, see what's close, make a proximity determination, and go for it. And that was the highest single drop waterfall in any state. Now, at the point where New York, we're near Connecticut, we're near New Hampshire, we had our choice. And
yeah, very quickly I thought I had it. And I was like, here it is. And then I was like, wait, no, that's 4 hours out of our way. Couldn't be that one.
Right.
So we had to hop on to the next
one.
And
we ran into a bunch of teams and got to the top. And that's where we had one of the teams, they were driving a Pontiac Solstice that had a European spec engine, and it was a very, very hot ride. But they come every year in full get up, and they stay in character. The one was Wolverine, and the other was Deadpool. And Deadpool went down these stone steps to the base of the waterfall and did the funniest pose on a rock,
just like Ryan Reynolds would.
Yeah, so it was great.
It was good. Yeah, they were, and of course they got a lot of attention when we went to Camp Sunshine. The kids just loved that. It was spectacular.
Yeah, they were totally entertaining. Checkpoint 4 was a 306-foot high stone obelisk monument, and what it does is
that was really neat.
Yeah, commemorates Brigadier General John Stark. There were 1,400 New Hampshire men that were fighting in the Revolutionary War. So you go into the gift shop, you get your ticket, your admission ticket, pay for that, and then you have an elevator operator takes you up.
And gives you a little history.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
He was great.
Talked us up, and then you get up there, and...
How high was it again?
306 feet.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, I think that's the total height of the monument. The observation deck was maybe 2/3 of the way up, if I recall. So you're up there, and there's no staircase or anything to get back down, And he, meanwhile, goes back down.
He's like, I'll be back up. Just ring the bell.
Yeah, the little service bell. So you're thinking, okay, you can come back now.
Beautiful views, though.
Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool because you had to take a picture of your vehicle from the observation windows.
Down in the parking lot.
Exactly. And the last checkpoint, this was checkpoint 5. To me, it was my favorite town.
Keene, New Hampshire.
Keene, New Hampshire. In fact, I plan to go back.
And the extra credit portion of this was even just as impressive.
Yeah, there was something like 15 murals that they had hired, painted around on the sides of buildings throughout the town.
Just this year, just in June, they painted all of this, except this one. This one was painted earlier.
And there was one that was used in the movie Jumanji, and they then, once the production crew had left, they painted back over it. The town loved it so much, and the connection to the movie Jumanji, that even post-Hollywood, they recreated and had it repainted. Yeah. So we went around, we truly were running through this town, up one side, down the other.
It was way too fast. I really wanted to stay there for a while because it was such a cool town.
And we were finding all these beautiful murals. The one in particular that was referenced in the movie was this Paris Shoes Empire. And it was a fictional company, but that was the one that we had a lot of fun finding. So completely amazing. We then ended in Concord. But Scott had talked earlier about some of the scavenger hunt items of things you had to find. Historical home sites, say 25 points, you had a maximum of 5 on day 3. Welcome signs for villages and towns. And then we've got these things in our head. So like the next day we're like, oh, there's a welcome sign. But then that was the previous day and you're on to the new thing.
It was worthless.
But
until we figured it out, it was worthless.
Oh, yeah. But covered bridges, box truck, 18-wheelers, detour signs, whoopie pies. Whoopie pies
you had to eat them.
Originating in New England and large. Their whoopie pies they're like
whoopie cake.
A softball and a half.
They're like a whoopie cake.
They are.
But also really cool. Like the one day was people with kayaks and we were there. We stopped to get gas, I think. And down over the hill there was a person that was renting out kayaks for the river, and that was on the Delaware River as well.
Yeah, I think.
So we went down there, but everybody's great. We're like, we need a picture of you with your kayak.
She's like, what are you doing?
And then at one point we stopped again, and there was a park ranger that she was in there paying for a couple of things, and we ran back outside and saw that she had 2 kayaks or canoes on top of her car. And we were like, we need a picture with you in it with your kayaks. Yep. So it was really cool. It was everybody
People were
was
gracious.
Yeah.
I have to say, everyone was very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, take it away. How about day 4?
Okay, so day 4 was great. We went
left Concord.
Left Concord, New Hampshire, and it wasn't very far. Was it 15 minutes?
Couldn't think
half an hour,
it was much
something
more
like
than that.
Yeah. And we went to New England Dragway.
Our trivia question for this week is this: as you are aware, all the ralliers got to do quarter-mile passes for a couple hours at the New England Dragway. So, what is the tagline from a marketing standpoint for that drag strip? It's pretty unique, and it's about the heart of what they consider that drag strip's purpose. So that answer coming up at the end of the show.
And that was great. You got to do drag racing. It was kind of continuous. You could have done several times.
We and that Holden. We were the very first cars down the strip.
Yeah,
and they had just treated the track,
and he was great. I mean, he was a drag racer to start with,
good guy,
but a lot of tips and a lot of points, and
Justin really took his time to kind of explain. Now, here's what you need to do, and we went around the water box.
Very gracious about everything, yeah. But it was a great experience. Oh my gosh, I went the first time with you, and then you did the other times yourself.
Yep, and
it was just great. It was really, really cool.
How fun is it where you can get your car up over 112 miles an hour and just so much fun.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. So we were there, and then we all got together and went we all met up at Camp Sunshine and went in, and what a reception. It was just great. We lined up, all the kids and families and everybody were there. Okay. We parked wherever we could, and we got out, and they made kind of an announcement and told us everything, and they had lunch for us, and they had tours for us. But I thought a really cool thing was the entrance into the main building had 3 levels of doors. They were all the same door, but they were all different heights, and it was just, everybody was equal going through into the building and the facility, which is really cool. And I think most of us went through the shortest door, so it was kind of cool.
Well, how about the arts and crafts, how all the kids, as we came into they had a slat fence along the entrance, and they had, for each one of the teams, they did an arts and crafts where it looked like an interstate sign, and then it would have the car number, the team name,
And little thumbprint pictures on, like thumbprints that they had made into bugs and that sort of thing. It was really neat, and they had them laminated. And as we left later on, when with all the teams were leaving, everybody stopped and they took theirs off of the fence. It was really, we still have ours here, and I think you're just gonna keep it here in the studio.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. It's very, very neat. But the facility was wonderful.
We met some great kids as they came around to look at the cars, and we let them get in. I opened and had them get in, sit in the driver's seat. Under supervision, we started the car and some other things. But the first little guy was Tucker. He
it was great.
He said, "I want to grow up and be a race car driver," and that was cute. How about?
It was really cute.
It was neat too, as the kids would come around. They had maybe sheets of paper where they would ask each of the teams, each of the drivers, to sign their autograph, and almost like signing a yearbook. And Mr. Race Car Driver, will you sign that for me? And you're like, I'm just an average Joe, but sure. You know,
it was really neat.
Good.
They were so great about everything.
Sweet.
And then
loved them so much.
Really sweet little girl that we we'll put a couple pictures up. We met her and her parents and some friends
from
of theirs
Louisville,
that were
Kentucky,
there.
actually.
Yeah, they were from Louisville, and her name was Audrey Nethery. And she has
what a sweetheart.
Almost 2 million followers on Facebook. So go out and check her out. The week that we were there was for Diamond Black Fan Anemia. And it is so rare that they only have this camp every 2 years because there's so few cases.
Worldwide, there are 1,000 cases.
It was, just beautiful families, beautiful kids. They were so wonderful.
And such spirit, such positivity.
Yeah, and confidence. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But Audrey came up and she was looking at your car and she said about could she get in it, and you were like, absolutely. And I think she started to go around to get in the passenger side, and you were like, no, you better take the driver's seat. And so she hopped in there, and it was great.
Well, we met the family from the UK.
Oh yeah,
and they come over every 2 years. And in fact, because this is such a rare disorder, some meet each and every year. Others meet once every 2 years, and this was one where they're going to have alternate years.
Yeah, Amber from the UK. Yep. But they were just wonderful.
And what's extraordinary to me too is that as children, if they were able to, they do well and they survive and they continue on, come back to work as guides, as volunteers. Families come back to volunteer. So even if they, let's say if through treatments and otherwise have a really solid survival rate, it's so neat to see that the families are so dedicated. They keep coming back and giving and giving and giving of their time and their efforts and their talents to Camp Sunshine to perpetuate this for other families.
And when we were on our tour with the gentleman that took us through, when we would get to certain points, there would be some of the kids that were volunteers. And I think it was Julie. She was, I think, around 22, and she said she had started going there when she was younger, and she always wanted to volunteer there. And you couldn't until you were 18, and she's been volunteering since then. But really, very informative, talking about things. It's a cool facility. I mean, it's
lake and climbing wall and indoor gymnasiums and you name it,
and frisbee golf, and they have a yurt section so that kids can have a camp out right there on the facility, and it was just really neat. It was really spectacular. It's kind of a hidden gem there, but if you have a chance to support that or to go and check it out, you should. You got to meet and talk with Anna Gould a little bit.
Yes, she's the founder.
And I think they donated
she and her late husband
the land and everything to there. So it's a really very cool place. So
it's worth
can't
checking
say
out.
enough about it.
And then we continued on to the terminus of Rally North America 2019, and that was Old Orchard Beach, Maine. And it's a
complete beach town.
Yeah, it's a very old New England town. It has a little amusement park area on it, a bit of like a boardwalk, all kinds of eateries along the way, and arcades and what have you. But very, very family-oriented beach town. That was our final night, and the next morning, 6 a.m., we were up and out the door we went.
Yep, heading back to Carlisle. Yeah. But it was great. What an experience. Experience of a lifetime, actually.
Yeah, can't say enough about it, and you can see why it has a waiting list of 40-plus teams every year. It's a great event. Again, to Tony and Scott, not Navigator Scott, but great job, you guys. Thank you for including us. And to our fellow drivers, the other 84 teams, we had such a great time getting to know you. Truly, competing and hanging out throughout the entire week. It was a lot of fun. Some of the cars that stand out in my mind, is just like the family that came in from Phoenix, Arizona.
Dustin and Brooke.
Yeah, they had the
and their boys.
Yeah, they actually had a Baja truck that they drove across country, then drove the 1,800 miles on the rally itself, and then we're driving back to Phoenix. Some just
and
fun
Doug
people.
and Gann,
Yep.
that were so great with,
Yep.
with everything, with helping us with so much stuff. And Todd and Kathy that kind of kept us on track with things as far as meeting up and where we were leaving from. And
Glenn Beck and Jim.
Great.
They were.
Oh, yeah, and Team Limer.
Team Limer, yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
A lot of personalities, a lot of great people that are all about cars.
And Jen, the unofficial photographer, she was around just taking photos of everything. And
Right.
she mentioned she loves doing it and just kind of hops in a car that anybody that needs a Navigator seat filled. And she kind of covered so much of the stuff with that, and just amazing. It was a great group of people.
Yeah. Shout out to all of you. Thank you very much. We had so much fun. You know who you are, and hope to see you in the years ahead.
Yeah, hope to do it so many more times. It was
Any
great.
closing remarks, Mr. Navigator?
It was unbelievably fun and
Tiring, too.
tiring.
Yeah.
It was extreme. It was very, very
Yeah.
cool.
You had to be on your game.
Yeah, but it was great. I think the Navigator had the harder job, but that's okay.
Sure.
No, I would not have been wanting to
We
drive
drove
around 80-some
around
teams
New York
of
City and
expensive,
Connecticut.
cool cars.
Yeah, it was-
I would not have wanted to have done that, but yeah, but it was great. We saw a lot of great places, a lot of places we would go back to that I wouldn't have thought to go to or even to go back to. Ithaca, New York, downtown on the mall, spectacular places,
Yeah.
eateries. I think we ate at that one Thai place, which was so authentic and
that was the best.
wonderful.
Keene, New Hampshire, I am going back. I can
Very
tell you
keen
right
on Keene,
Yes,
yes.
indeed.
And Poughkeepsie and Concord, it was all great.
Yeah.
Everything was wonderful. Everybody was so gracious. Dutchess County, their representatives that
Yes.
they had there, it was great. Rob Dyson from Dyson Racing.
Dyson Racing. I was just salivating over all the cars inside their facility. And they have an original 289 Cobra that was purchased. It was a 3-owner car, and every owner was within probably an 11 to 15 mile radius of the facility. All lived in that county. That car, 3-owner, and never left the zip code. Pretty phenomenal story, and the provenance on that vehicle. It was in the museum, and then we got to see race cars, LMS racers, others that were in for work and repair, engine shop. They have a full paint facility. Here we go. We're just kind of we're reminiscing, and just there's so much. Like when we tell family members or friends about our trip, we just go on and on.
Yes,
Just
they
so
kind
much.
of bore into a glaze because we just keep going on. But it's great. You should definitely check out, again, the MAV TV special that's going to be on late December or January of 2020. It'll give a glimpse into what it was like. I'm assuming that they probably will make us look much prettier and more organized than what the days seem to be at times, but it will be great. So take a look at that, and it'll be kind of a glimpse into the right seat or the back seat. You don't want to be taking the Navigator side, but yeah, it'll hop you into the back seat to take a ride along with it. It's great.
Well, I look forward to future events like this, and can't say enough. To me, gorgeous cars, incredible horsepower. We were up against 650, 700 horsepower vehicles. But beyond that, it was the people that you could strike conversations up that, like you Cubers, are car fans, car folks, and it doesn't matter your walk of life, where you come from, your background, what have you, or even if you're driving a Ford, a Chevy, a Mercedes, Ferrari, doesn't matter. It's if you like cars, you like cars. So
Yeah, and I think you also are going to maybe try to do a follow-up here with Tony.
in September, they have another event called Drive, where they're going to be doing some racetracks, and that it's another large planned event. But once he gets a breather between these two, he's going to give some of his time to give his perspective as co-founder and event organizer, as well as to give a glimpse to the 2020 Rally North America. So,
And he'll have some statistics from this 2019
Of
one
course,
as well,
yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
did we mention, Scott, how much was raised for Camp Sunshine? Upwards of $200,000. I think that's pretty phenomenal.
It's amazing, but they can always use more. So if you're
Sure.
thinking about it, not even from our rally, if you're so inclined to donate, check out Camp Sunshine's webpage. Donate there because, as I said, the facility is great, but everything that they offer with the medical teams and the facilities that are there and the people that come in to speak, it's really expensive. And they want to do it well, and they want to do it.
People come from all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So they can always use more. So keep them in the back of your mind if you are so inclined to give to someone, because it is a great place. We can say firsthand now, we've been there, and it's spectacular. Yeah.
All right, we're back with that answer. I had asked earlier what the marketing tagline or the mantra that you may see at the New England Dragway. And their logo is simply built by racers for racers. And I definitely got that vibe. It was completely focused on the pits, the huge parking lot, major acreage that was asphalted for rigs and tow vehicles, RVs, plenty of parking. They really put a lot of effort into the facilities themselves. So if you ever find yourself in Rockingham County, specifically in the town of Epping, New Hampshire, please check out New England Dragway. Great place. And we had a lot of fun burning up the quarter mile. Well, guys, thank you so much for riding along with us. I know this is a little longer than normal episode. We're pushing probably 40, 45 minutes, but we wanted to include you in what was an incredibly fun 5 days.
Yeah, and I feel like we had to jam in all of this because it is so exciting to talk about so much. So we may do a little follow-up as well. You might get tired of hearing about it, but if you see that, it might be good. Just check it out.
And the decals are still in the vet because it looks pretty cool. And
it does.
With all the sponsor stickers and things, so we'll probably leave that on at least till the Corvettes at Carlisle in the close of August. So if you're there, come check out the vet, and we'd love to tell you more about things firsthand.
Yeah, it's great.
So for now, we're going to go ahead and put it into the garage, pull the emergency brake on, put the car cover on. But I will simply say, rally well,
be well,
take care.